It's that time again. It's time for another Saturday night special where we talk about everything rockhounding related. This past week was a very good week. We had the opportunity to head up to Metaline Falls, the Metaline area, which is in northeast Washington, pretty close to the Washington-Canadian-Idaho border, like right up in the corner. There is a locality up there that has been on my bucket list for a while now, and we actually got to go to it. So, I first learned of the Metaline Falls Quarry from the Gem Trails book. It's like a secondary site, and I think it says Trilobites ? Like they didn't actually go. There are, in fact, Trilobite fossils there. And the problem with this is that it is only accessible by... Well, you can access it by walking in, and it's a very long walk uphill. But there's a very generous landowner that owns an adjacent property who is willing to open up a gate that's on his property and allow immediate drive-in access to the quarry. And this happens, I believe, once a year with the NPA, the Northwest Paleontological Association. And it's cool. Like, part of some of this stuff we do, this rockhounding stuff, is kind of community participation stuff, which is part of it. And when you start to participate in community, you get to know people, right? We were invited out there by Greg, who we met at Stone Rose, digging fossils there. You can see the connection here of fossils. And then I actually did some digging with him up at the Addy Road cut for other trilobites. So before we look at the trilobites, there's some interesting stuff up there. Here's a very light druzy coating of barite, very, very thin, like hard to even get a good photo under the microscope. And I'm going to work on the microscope setup this winter. My camera has some dead pixels that are streaking now, and I need a better table setup, and I'm going to try to dial that in. That's kind of more of a winter project, right? Like, we're winding down the summer and moving into fall, and before I know it, we'll be snowed in, and that's when I can screw around with that. So I don't have any pictures of this stuff, but we have some little pyrite, which that's cool. There is some just kind of like massive calcite up there. It is a limestone quarry that was used at the concrete plant there. Sarah found this, which is some lovely bladed calcite. I think it looks really good. That's a fun one. We'll probably be keeping that. And then on to the trilobites. I think we did moderately well. I also found some very, very low quality palygorskite. I gotta get some more of that. And that would be like that kind of textured piece right there. I want some very, very good, high quality palygorskite. That'd be awesome. So, there's a trip report up on the website, currently rockhounding.com, with some great photos, but you can see right there in the middle of your screen a trilobite. Sarah is definitely more of into the fossils than me, but I still think we got some decent pieces here. I mean, it's very obvious what it is, even to the lay person such as myself. We can kind of look at them and figure out what we're looking at. Real technical here, there's a thing. Oh, trilobite there. We got a lot. Probably what we'll end up doing is, Sarah's going to come figure out what we're keeping and what we're not. That little guy right there. Yeah, there's like a whole tray. There's a whole tray of of stuff over here. So, like, that's very obvious. Yeah. cool stuff. It's very cool to go and see that. You know, I mean, sometimes I really feel like I just want to check things off the list, you know, and hitting all of my good local spots is up there. Even if it takes sometimes. In this case, it took us maybe about 3 years to really access the quarry from the time we were like, yes, let's figure this out, till we ended up there. Also up on the website, lovely new article on Ellensburg blue agates. Now, I don't have any Ellensburg blue agates. The article isn't written by me. It was written by my buddy Jim, and you should go check it out. I'll drop a link down below. Ellensburg blue agates are something that you can find exclusively out here in Washington, and maybe next summer we'll make it a priority to get our hands on a couple of EBs. I think it would be quite good. Before we kind of get into the more meat of the subject this evening, which I want to kind of go back an episode, right, and continue some of that conversation. But first, let's address something. Let's talk about some of my danger rocks. Okay, so the actinolite, right? There's a lot of rocks, minerals, that are not really things you should be, cutting on, handling a whole lot, the dust of it, all of that. People like to point to this often, which what we have here is asbestos. Natural asbestos, okay? The thing is, with all of these fibrous minerals, technically they are not super duper safe. There's some crystal tile here. I just have that one in a Ziploc. I need to find a better home for this. Probably also clean it. The thing is, it's not necessarily the most safe thing. Any rock or mineral that is even remotely fibrous is something that you should probably be a little cautious about. Now, I like to think that everybody here on the channel that watches my content, you are a functioning adult, and you should know that breathing in dust is bad for you. And I think if I put in a disclaimer every single time we ever did anything even remotely dangerous or collected things that are not 100% safe, it would be kind of lame. Like, I don't want to, this isn't a hall monitor channel, right? You can safely have fibrous rocks and minerals. You can have rocks and minerals in your collection that to barehand them isn't good, right? That's fine. Like, and I do talk about this subject not often, but there's videos up on it. It came up. I don't think it's reason to avoid the collection of them. I think it's simply something to be mindful of, and use that to kind of inform what you're doing, There's a lot of dangerous things in this world, and the reality is, it's far more dangerous, in my opinion, driving from my house to Lake Wenatchee than, that's more risky than ever having anything that has talc, asbestos, mercuries, radioactive, anything like that. So, I need to clean this one. I'm probably going to do some soaking of these. But I think it's beautiful material. A number of them are going to end up in a cabinet, I think. I think that one's pretty good. I like that one. So don't be super worried about it. Now, natural things are clearly less dangerous than refined things. In the case of asbestos, the asbestos that made its way into like mastic glues, insulation, different products that came into the home, they would dry out. You were living with it. Time of exposure matters, The reality is, I'm not like, these are going to go get filed away in my collection, and, that's kind of the end of it. It will end up in jars and in a display case. and it's not something I'm walking around picking up and just like fondling and creating dust as I go. So in that sense, it's very, very safe in my opinion. There's a lot of things to worry about, and generally, so long as it's not in reach of children, because that's probably the biggest risk with any of the rocks and minerals, is like little kid picks this up and like what sticks it in their mouth. I don't know. I don't have kids, but the consumption of the dust is the thing to be avoided, and that's I think that's a fair assessment. Well, last week we discussed some of the cons and scams and shadiness going on in the rockhounding mineral game world, and we're going to continue that conversation a little bit this evening. There's several topics that I didn't touch on last week, and I thought a lot about it, and I got a lot of the comments that people left were very good and very insightful. Buddy down in Bend sent me a message. I love it when people challenge the things that I say. I mean, I'm not infallible. I make mistakes, and I'm learning as I go here. And some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you now, I was like a little shocked when I first learned about it. So that's why I kind of want to share some of it with you, make you a more aware consumer of rocks, minerals, rockhounding, social media, all of that stuff. So, first off, I want to talk about added value products, okay? And why some of these things cost what they cost. I don't sell rocks. I've never sold rocks. And then for the most part, I really don't buy rocks. I'm not like buying rough and turning it into finished product to sell. I might buy, some thunder eggs and a feed egg and cut them and polish them and enjoy them for my own self. And it's usually as far as we get. But added value products in the stone lapidary world is an interesting topic, okay? So right here, we have a Dugway thunder egg, even though it's not Dugway thunder egg. I almost got that backwards. Dugway geode beds are actually thunder eggs because of their rhyolite exteriors, so I'm going to call them a Dugway thunder egg. So right here we have a rock that, let's grab the ruler real quick. Okay, so we have a rock here that's about 4 inches, right? My saw, when I'm cutting, it takes 6 minutes to cut an inch, right? So in the case of slabbing, you're making an end, taking off the end cut, and then you're making a slab cut, and that can take a lot of time. So you're taking something, in the case of this, it may be like $3 a pound, and adding 30 minutes of cut time to it. And, in that process, you have all of the tools and the expendables and the polishing and the diamonds on the saw blade, putting wear and tear on stuff. There's a lot of costs that just kind of get baked into it. And then the actual time of polishing, if it takes you 20 minutes to polish it. So, you could potentially be into a piece an hour plus your initial costs. So that all of that is baked into the price of things, such as this thunder egg from Richardson's Ranch that I cut and polished. And that's hard. I would never ever want to sell my rocks. It's impossible to compete. The reality is, like, I live in Northeast Washington. Any human being with a pulse in Northeast Washington can go into a Target or a Home Depot. I'm not trying to disparage these places, but I'm just saying that these are not things that require a large skill set to obtain employment from. And you can go make it $18 an hour, $20 an hour, right? So if I spend an hour on something, you got to be making more than minimum wage, at least out here. So it's not really a competitive market in that, you can have, example, a place like Richardson's Ranch. They could hypothetically sell a whole shipping container to a company with a cutting shop in Indonesia, where they cut rocks and polish those rocks and pay people $4 a day or whatever. You could have somebody in a state that has low wages, and how you would figure in the price of everything involved in the cutting and polishing of it is now lower, like your time and all these different, power, the price of power is lower. Lots of factors go into figuring out your finished product price. So it's really tough. I don't generally comment on prices, but certainly along with the raise in fuel prices and inflation, well, I think we've seen, especially at shows like the recent Denver show, and you're going to see in Tucson, prices be going up. eBay sold auctions, Etsy auctions, they reflect that as well. I find the economics of rocks and minerals to be fascinating as well. A lot of stuff requires equipment to extricate it, extricate it. So the price of diesel affects the price of rough generally. Okay. Seeding fines. Let's talk about seeding your fines a little bit. This is a thing, people. This is a thing that I know people with YouTube channels have done in the past. And that's basically burying your finds so that you can excitedly find them on video. Now, there's a lot of things happening with this. When your income is directly connected to the number of clicks and excitement and engagement, it's tough. There's like a little hook with bait on it, and it's like, oh, just do this and you'll make more money. A lot of people have unfortunately taken it. Now, I'm not saying everybody's seeding their finds, but there is a couple that I know of seeding their finds, which it's just very deceptive. And I want you to be aware of things going on. I recently saw a video, and they're digging like $1 million crystals, crystal pockets galore, mind-blowing, epic. We're making so much money. Check out this like $7,000 crystal cluster. And now, yeah, there can be crystals that sell in that price range. But the truth is kind of obscured and hidden as you see these things. I saw a video where they're doing this, and the excavator being used has a rental company's logo on it. So one of two things are happening here, okay? First off, there is no way a mining company, a company legitimately making millions of dollars annually, pulling crystals out of the ground, is going to be renting an excavator. Like, not going to happen. You're going to own an excavator. So most likely, they bought an old rental excavator. And old rental excavators are trash. Generally speaking, they're trash. Like, you're buying an old beat to heck used car, basically. So if you are pulling millions and millions per year, you wouldn't have old beat up equipment. You'd be reinvesting in your business, you'd be buying new excavators, because think about it. If you blow a hydraulic line on this excavator and you're down for 2 days because you're out there on a Sunday and you can't get the line, and then you got to wait for the place to open. It's like a whole rigmarole, and you're down, and because of that, you're not pulling these $10,000 crystals out of the ground every 10 minutes. Well, that doesn't really, that's not really profitable to keep that machine around, Actual companies that do actual mining have generally pretty good, well-maintained equipment, because they understand the costs associated with the downtime of that equipment. What's much more likely is that those crystals aren't actually worth that much money, and it's a fluff piece. You're watching an advertisement where they're pumping prices, like we talked about last week. It's a shady business, Another shady business is Paydirts. Okay, some of you might be aware of this, some of you may not. It's mostly with gold, and basically, as an example, you're buying $5 of gold in a bag of dirt plus shipping, and maybe the total is $25. Versus you could just go buy $20 of little placer gold, little mini picker nuggets, and make your own dirt and pan it out, and you have a lot more from the get-go. So it's kind of scammy. Some of the ones with gems, here, let me show you real quick, okay? Here's how a lot of these work. You take your Ziploc bag with some dirt, and let's grab, how about $1? I'm going to call this $1 of Thunder Eggs. We'll put $1 of Thunder Eggs in here. Okay, how about that? And we need a super cool label, because you got to have a super cool label, and makes you look pro as can be, perfect for eBay. So we have super amazing Thunder Egg Paydirt, $20. And we'll just, you can mix that. We're not going to actually mix it up, though. We'll just let the mailman mix it up. And cool, there we go. I just made $18.50. Does that seem like a good deal? You could do that yourself. Just do that yourself. It blows my mind when I see people buying these complete scammy rip-off things. Like, there are, of course, a spectrum of vendors, and there's a spectrum of YouTube channels and a spectrum of all this stuff. But, think about the thing that you're seeing. If it is too good to be true, it most likely is. It most likely is. The reality is that all of this rock and mineral thing, it's awesome. It's objectively, measurably an awesome thing. Like, you don't need fake stuff. You don't need to hype stuff. You don't need to rip people off. You don't need to do all of that nonsense. You can just be like a cool, honest seller, right? With like properly priced things that, you can sell at a profit, and people can buy it, and everybody can make money, and everybody can be happy, and you don't have to bury finds to be found on video. You don't have to come up with nutty evaluations for things. You can just be like, hey, like, this little tiny thing I found is genuinely cool, and let me tell you why. If you think about something, if you take any rock or mineral, right, and you put a little bit of energy into the thought behind it, you can make it cool, right? And I'll give you an example, right? All right. Sorry, slow here. Look at that tiny Thunder Egg. That's like the miniest Thunder Egg. But it actually has pressure ridges. Pressure ridges are cool. That's so tiny. Have you cut a tinier Thunder Egg than that? I still need to polish this guy up. But I think that's awesome. Is it the best Thunder Egg in the world? No, not by far. Is it the smallest one with pressure ridges? Quite possibly. Maybe there's a smaller one out there. So yeah, you don't have to have like the biggest, most epicest museum find for something to be really, really cool. And I think that's important to point out. Well, this coming week, speaking of epic things, I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna like the video this coming week. We went to a locality that I was a little jaw-dropped at. We go to many locations, and often, I would say they're all interesting. I can find something interesting just about anywhere I go. Some are mid-range, some are upper mid-range. Very, very few places, very few localities, I would say, are like crazy. You're only going to see it once. And I think where we went next week, it lands in that category. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being part of my channel here. I appreciate you a lot. Yeah, we'll leave this one here. Please go check out the website, currently rockhounding.com. Lots of fun stuff up there. No, I'm not selling that for 20 bucks. I'm going to take my thunder eggs out. All right. Yeah, we'll leave this one here. Actually, you know what? I'll give this away. I'm going to give this away. If you're a member here on the channel, stay tuned for that. All right, y'all. Y'all take care, and I'll catch you in the next video.